Hey guys, and welcome to Untier Talk. I'm like super tired because I had a large flight today, and Hajad's, it's late for him, and it's there's nothing happened last week, so we're gonna try some kind of live episode thing where we're in not a private call but the PU Discord, and we're just gonna invite a bunch of people to come in, ask us questions, and give us gimmicks, and maybe this will work out. And maybe it won't, but we're just going to try it, and I won't edit it very much, so hopefully no one says something like really stupid.
Yeah, that's
the plan. We're just going to try. We're just going to try a thing. All right, let me just make the post in Hub.
Yeah. Otherwise, I mean, if nobody comes in, like, I'm just going to be spamming gimmicks at everybody. So, yeah, maybe we could do a potential theory one as well. But, yeah, that's the plan as of basically now. So
yeah, I just need to post in Hub.
Should I start? Okay, let me just figure out this set first.
Okay, I made the post, so we'll see if anyone is actually capable of hopping. This might completely fail because we're not doing it in advance. Like we literally decided to do this like a minute ago. So it's entirely possible that everyone's like, well, I'm too busy. I can't just hop and call right now. But if we're lucky, we'll get like 4 or 5 people maybe. That's all I really expect. So, you said you had a starting gimmick?
Yes, I had a starting gimmick. It is Electros. So yeah, imagine your standard Electros set, which is like Assault Vest. Assault Vest, and it gets chipped quite easily by like just random moves. So like if it gets wisped, that's actually not that great for it, even though the impact isn't that like significant.
So you're doing like rest talk or?
It also gets, well, if you think about it, like it also like as soon as Stealth Rock come in, like it's vastly worse. Like as soon as Stealth Rock comes into play, because taking that 12% chip on a mod that's an Assault Vest thing.
So, I would get to the point because we already have people joining and.
Oh shit! Lovely.
So get to the gimmick quick.
It's sort of defensive, sub-toxic with Thunderbolt and Giga Drain.
Okay, so it's not meant to have. So it's just like giving up having any longevity to be able to be annoying.
Really annoying. Yeah, that's the whole thing.
Yeah, I can see it. Like that sounds like a real problem to face.
So yeah, like the main things that can come in properly are your grass types. So like Lurantis and Lilligant, if they want to come in, they'll have to take a toxic.
Clefairy too.
The main real issues are Victory Bell, Clefairy, and Roselia. Clefairy and Roselia are sort of out of favor in this meta, and you can abuse those. Victory Bell.
But on the other hand, who's going to want to switch those into an Electros? Yeah, so you definitely got that surprise factor for sure.
Yeah, and obviously when you have Victory Bell, the main source of recovery is going to be on Strength Sap. So I definitely recommend pairing this with like a Sap Zip Pokemon. Something like Drampa or Bufalons, or those types of things that stop the strength stat from going off, which is quite a
yeah. It sounds legit. All right, let's get to the actual point of this then. I think it's a reasonable gimmick, but that was plenty of time on Electros. We got like a bunch of people dropped. I think just because you were talking so long, they're like, I'm not going to get my question in. I actually think that's what happened. I was trying to hurry it along, but we have Oathkeeper. Hi, Oathkeeper.
Oh, hi guys. What's going on?
Not much. What do you got? A gimmick or a question?
Neither. Sorry.
Why? You just here to listen? All right.
Yeah, I guess. Sorry if you guys were doing.
No, it's fine. We'll check Hub. Didn't you read the Hub? Gosh. Okay. Well, that was Oathkeeper. If you guys don't have a gimmick or a question, just let us keep doing the thing. Who does have one? Let's see. Who's unmuted? Hey, J Mash, what do you got for us?
Jason.
Oh,
It's J
I
Mash.
don't have anything planned yet. I'll just listen for now.
All right. If you got nothing, mute your mic, and then I know not to be like, hey.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so there's a lot of people in the voice call now, but literally all of them have muted mics. Literally no one has a question they want. It can be literally anything, guys. How do you not have a question? And we're like obligated to answer and post it on YouTube, and you have no questions.
And literally any gimmick, even if it's like a salt vest wishy-washy, I'll consider the thought for about.
Is that
5
really
minutes.
what your mind goes to for a bad gimmick? I mean, don't get me wrong, it's bad, but like a salt vest wishy-washy, you could definitely do a lot worse.
That's what Specs Jigglypuff did to make fun of me. So that's my go-to one.
Oh, okay. I am honestly shocked that no one has any question that they want to ask about like anything.
Weird.
Okay, well, since you're asking, like anything, like literally anything.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, you've probably already answered it, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Like expected drops from this tier ship coming up.
I mean, I don't think it's really our expected so as much as we can read the stats just the same as anyone else can and see like, oh, it looks like Guzzlord's coming. It looks like Miltank's coming.
Pharisee might be fun.
Yeah, like unless you have some insider knowledge on something that looks like it might drop based on like the 1 month stats, but actually is going to like significantly change over March. But like we don't ladder in you, so I don't know how we'd have that insider information.
Right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a fair question. And also, we're recording this on March 31st. By the time Untier Talk goes up, I'm extremely hopeful that we'll already have drops.
Right.
So there's that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes.
We can hear you, TJ.
I just figured I'd ask. I wasn't sure if you guys, knew like, anything like any juicy news.
Totally fair, but the people you want to go to are the ones who ladder a lot of NU. Like, God, I don't even know who ladders a lot of NU a lot. Maybe Rydon Phillip or Keo or Raz. I don't know if Keo ladders that much. All right.
Yes, some of the NU mains. Yeah.
Exactly. TJ.
My question would be, so I've seen a lot of people talking about like Guzzlord, and since now it has like access to knockoff, it could potentially be dangerous. What were your guys' thoughts on that?
Yeah, this is quite a good question actually. I'll sum up my thoughts on it. And I think it's undeniable that we'd want to keep Guzzlord in the tier. In the same way that we wanted to keep Hariyama in the tier back when we had it. But the main issue that we had with Hariyama in the first place was there was like the good set, which, well, good in terms of like a tiering.
The healthy
the
set.
Assault Vest set. Yeah, the healthy set. Whereas Assault Vest, it gave you a lot of ability to check like fires and ice types. And we like lauded it as potentially, if we could keep it in the tier, like our savior to like Magmortar and Pyro and what have you. But the issue with that is that the set that became more popular as the tier and the suspect test went on was the Flame Orb Gut set, which we had absolutely no switch-ins for whatsoever. And then instead of becoming like a healthy element that you could sort of build around and, it could give you a nice glue, you have this broken set which sort of takes over and says, okay, well now you have to run this fighting check over here and this fighting check.
Yeah, I think we get the metaphor.
Yeah, so like basically the brokenness outweighs the good. That's the scenario, the same sort of thinking that we have to take for Guzzlord. If the brokenness overtakes how good it is defensively, and how good it might be as a glue
Yeah,
Pokemon,
and the question is, would
consider-
knockoff really make it that broken?
I think potentially, maybe. We'll have to, with all of these things, like you have to take them on into consideration. Obviously, unlike Houndoom, there is a real upside to keeping it in the tier. Like you get so many more checks to certain Pokemon. It adds a lot defensively and as a glue onto the tier. So yeah, we want to keep it in the tier, but I think the offensive sets will dictate that. Maybe it'll be good, maybe it'll be bad. But
So
we'll have
you
to see
so
when
you
it
don't
proves
have
if it
insight, is what you're saying.
comes.
So you're just saying maybe. So he asked like, do you think knockoffs can make it a problem? And you said, well, we'll have to see if knockoff makes it a problem.
Well, yeah, but that's like, it's not to say that if knockoff becomes, let's say, makes it a lot better. That's not to say that it won't stay in the tier. Like, even if it's an S rank Pokemon.
Yeah, but like, what do you think? Do you think knockoff might make it broken? Like, just at a guess. Like, for example, I obviously there's no way to know beforehand, but I really don't think the addition of knockoff is gonna be able to put it over the edge that convincingly. It just doesn't. It just doesn't look like knockoff is so strong of an option that's where we go. Like, yep, this is too much now. I might end up being totally wrong, but I just don't. Knockoff's good, but it's not like ridiculous to that point because most of it's switch-ins that'd hate getting knocked off. They'd also just hate taking a Specs Draco or something. Knockoff is arguably almost easier to pivot into. Like Pom Pom can't pivot into Dark Pulse, but it can pivot into knockoff if it's Z move.
Yeah.
A Alolan Persian. Or what if you run Z Psych up Regirock? Now Regirock's a switch in. Okay, that's actually really stupid. Don't run that. It takes heavy slams too.
You can knock off things like Clef, but like you can also just like heavy slam them. So like I don't know if knockoff.
Yeah. Also, Clefairy lol. Only Hijad uses Clefairy and on one team style. I mean, knockoff is annoying for a few mons. It is a different thing. It annoys Electros, and you can knock off Hitmonchan and then Draco it next time. But like, it's a few, and it annoys Type Null too, I guess. But it's like very few Assault Vest or Violet mons, and I just don't. Right now, if I had to guess, I just don't think it's going to be making the impact that would be needed to put it over the edge.
I mean, I wouldn't even count Electros because, like, if you just click like Z Draco or whatever.
Yeah, that's the thing. Electros is only coming in once, and it has to be running Drain Punch to even touch you, and it's like, eh.
Exactly.
Physical Electros will make the comeback. U-turn Drain Punch.
All right, who else? Specs, do you have a question?
Not really. I have like a gimmick that I've been trying out.
Yeah, sure. We're taking gimmicks too.
I've been using Specs Turtonator over the Shelf Smash.
Yeah, that sounds fire. Hold on.
Yeah, 'cause I've been trying out Shell Smash, and it's always just like I'd rather be clicking like a nuke rather than Shell Smashing because they have like beat control in the back. So you're always going to be getting like maybe only 1 to 2 kills. But I've been finding that if you play it well, like the dual stab is really hard to switch into.
Yeah.
I mean, it is hard to switch into. It is hard to switch into, but like whatever they're switching into, couldn't you have smashed and then hit that and then killed that thing and then switched out the same way as Specs, nukes the switch in and then switches out?
Yeah, sort of. Like, I don't know. I've just found that like it's you're hitting a lot harder than like trying to play the do I smash here or do I click like Drake or?
But you're hitting weaker over a smashed move. Like it's the immediate power. It's the immediate power, but I'm wondering how much is Turtonator like having issues? Like how much is that immediate power really an issue? Because I'm imagining, you got your Turtonator and you're like, okay, well I can Draco Meteor their Lantern switch in, and that's cool. But like you could also just smash and nuke it, and it's like functionally fairly similar because Lantern's not doing that much back, and Smash is a much greater chance to actually just kill it right there.
Yeah,
so
it's definitely like
I don't know.
I've just felt like immediate power rather than kind of having because it honestly doesn't force that many switches to begin with because of the speed tier. So I don't know. You're not getting that much more out of it, but I don't know. It's a cool set that I've been playing around with. I feel like it could use some optimization for sure.
Yeah, do you use Timid or Modest? Because Turtonator has been, because Turtonator has that weird tier where it's like 171 to 188 is like, you're always going to be slower than a breaker, like all the other breakers, like Aggron, Jennison, Auroras, all those ones. So, like, you just go all in, go for modest, and say fuck it, or
Yeah, I didn't find much to run timid for, like much reason.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah, that's fine.
It's-
What moves do you use? Because I assume you use Fire Blast and Draco.
Yeah, here, let me bring up the set.
Fireblast, Draco, Dragon Pulse, and then I don't think it really matters. Like, are you ever going to click another
At
move?
least you can go Flash Cannon
Some
and stuff.
filler.
So,
I think
yeah,
that I was running cannon.
Guys, if you don't have a question or a gimmick right now, then maybe just mute, because this is going to be way too many people for an actual recording.
Yeah, so
Thank you.
I had flash cannon / toxic in the last slot.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You can go for like.
I'm still definitely the skeptic, the skeptic guy, but
Yeah,
I think
it's
you
all-
could use a far worse things. I used a good amount of Spec Simisear, although that's kind of different. Like, I do see the attraction of what a Spec's fire type can do.
Yeah, Spec Simisear, to be honest, speaking on Spec Simisear, like, this is one of the things that I was theory mining with a few days ago, actually. And sort of using it like a pseudo Houndoom in that regard, where you have like overheat, and well, to nuke the fire to nuke the fire type switch in, and then just sort of play on that, because I feel like just fire types in general, people don't prep for them, so an overheat is a good opportunity to get a lot of damage downfield.
Like, sometimes they'll have a random lantern, but most of the time it works out pretty well. I
Honestly,
think
that's the call that I was thinking about, because if you think about it, like leftovers lantern that beats other lantern, the assault vest lantern, which is more scary, I guess. If you use like that, you can get free pivots, and you can also beat other lantern out. So yeah, that's fun.
Hey, do you guys talked about any of like potential drops? I wanted to hear your thoughts on Hitmonlee.
yeah, we didn't actually talk about what we think of the drops. I think Hitmonlee would end up being broken, which I hate to say because we've already had to get rid of so many mons this gen, so many fighting types. But I mean, if you take a look at Hitmonlee's stats,
Don't even think
it's
of it.
not
Think about,
okay. If you
the
take a look at
recount.
Hey Jed, so if you take a look at Hitmonlee's stats, they're not that impressive, and I can see where people might get the wrong impression. But then you actually look at the damage output, and it is stronger than Passimian and faster than Passimian. Now, Passimian had U-turn, which let it get around ghosts a lot better, but I still think Hitmonlee would massively turn into a case of, like, you really need to flip a coin because nothing in the tier can switch in unless it's a ghost type, or, like, the very few extremely particular, like, incredibly fat fighting resists, because a lot of our fighting resists, like Mesprit, is going to die very fast. Pom Pom, that's just too frail. So it's either your ghost types, like your Sableye and your Frostlass. It's like full Fizz Def, Quillfish, maybe that gets kind of fat plus Intimidate. Other than that, I don't know what you're going to do. This is just talking about Reckless Scarf. That's before you get to non-choiced or even unburdened sets. Like, I don't know how teams can reasonably be expected to take on Hitmonlee.
It's mainly still like Sableye and like Masharna. I think those are like really the only.
Yeah, Masharna for like fat Fizz Def fighting resist.
Yeah, I think it'd be
Yeah.
broken too.
I feel like Sableye is kind of like a niche mon at the moment, where it's like you already have spikes or something on your team, and you kind of want to be safer than Frostlass or what have you. So you kind of use a Sableye, or if you need like a all-encompassing fighting check in one slot, then you'd go for like a Sableye. But otherwise, it's just sort of like a niche pick. Like you wouldn't. It's not something that you spam on teams frequently because like it's ridiculously passive. It's like when your damage output is Nightshade, you're not going to be like the most defining Pokemon in the tier. So and Masharna itself is ridiculously bad. Like it's a mon where its best moveset doesn't include running stab because if it runs stab.
Okay, to be fair,
you
that's
get
not necessarily a bad thing. I don't think Masharna's good, but you can't just say like, oh, its best moveset doesn't run stab. What if that best moveset is amazing? Then sure. Like when there was a time when Masharna was genuinely good, and that non-stab moveset was actually really goddamn good in this tier. So I don't think that's really fair. But yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
There's also Jellicent, but like I don't think Jellicent.
Yeah, like I said, there are ghosts that you can flip a coin on if they can switch in. If we're talking Scarf or even like Colbert to check
If
and
we had
unburden
shit
with
like
knockoff.
Weaving
But
and then like a whole bunch of like solid fighting resist, I think it could like potentially stay, but
honestly, I think it would have been broken in NU should Slowbro have been banned. I think that was the scenario that ended up saving Hitmonlee. Well, not necessarily saving, but sort of putting Hitmonlee to one side and saying, well, this is not really a huge
yeah,
issue.
like look at how good Passimian already is in NU. Hitmonlee is riskier because you have high jump kick and because there's no U-turn and stuff. Passimian is already like very strong in the tier. So yeah. I think we pretty much covered that. So Jogurt can't join call, but he sent me a PM. Oh no, he can join call, he just can't talk. But he sent me a PM with the question, which is thoughts on type null and its lack of usage. I think type null is a really good mon that people just don't use. There are a lot of mon. I don't know about a lot. There are several mons like this in the tier where it's just genuinely like it could be super good. Floatzel, although that gets a little more into the matchup scenario, but I would definitely say also your Alolan Raticates, for example, your Pincers. This is kind of where I'd place type null. It can be like really annoying for teams to break, and this is only accentuated by the fact that nobody preps for this thing. Knockoff is becoming less of a thing. If I look at a bunch of recent teams, I can see exactly why they struggle with it. The two things against that, though, are the three things against that. A, it's like hard to use. B, it doesn't like spikes, which means you really have to be prepared for that. And C, you have to have a good game plan for handling ghosts, which are just like common, and like that's not that hard to come up with, but it's enough where people like just it's not something people really want to mess with. But I think like null is good. The team styles it fits in are fine. It's just a matter of people don't.
Yeah, I think it's comparable in that scenario to Oricorio Pom Pom, where I'm not sure if you've seen the exhibition stats and the ladder stats, but on the exhibition it was like a top 10 usage mon with like 25 uses or something. So it was like really popular in tour play. But as soon as you go onto ladder, I don't know if anybody in the call can confirm, but it was almost ZU, or is ZU. I don't necessarily know, but it's around that area where it could potentially drop to ZU. So it's like, I think type null is in a similar box to that, where it's like
it is
a
ZU.
really good mod. So like it's not getting usage on ladder, but like if you think about type null, I think you put it in a similar box where it's like it's really good. Like there's no reason for people to not use it. Sure, Frostlass is a prominent mon in the meta that could potentially spike on it, but so are a lot of things. So yeah.
For what it's worth, if we had a super developed tournament metagame to the degree that OU obviously, but even like UU or NU have, I think null would have hopped back into the meta as people just like start really going out of their way to abuse it. But PU is just like not quite there yet in terms of quality, and it certainly doesn't help that a lot of our best players aren't like the most prolific builders or the most creative builders. Like take me for example, I do not build shit. Hajad has a lot of gimmicks, but it's also a lot of the same stuff. You can see like Katut is obviously like the big exception to that rule, but for the most part, Robert Alphon's also definitely one of the more creative builders. But overall, like even the people who build more and build more creatively, comparatively, do not advance the meta as much as you do in other tiers. But I think null would flourish if PU was better. So take that for what you will.
And also if you just look at it raw stats wise, like its raw stats are comparable to like Regigigas with when you put a Violet on it, or like Cresselia and like Are You. It's ridiculously
It's bulkier than Porygon 2, I think.
Well, like the stats are ridiculously high, and its bulk is ridiculous. Like if you like, I think crunch or something from a scum
Yeah.
tank, it takes 20%.
It's
That's without any
it's
investment.
it's fatter than Porygon 2 in both defenses. Obviously, Porygon 2 has a far better moveset with Recover, 105 special attack, good abilities. So it's still better, but like that is just your metric for like how gosh darn bulky this thing is.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But yeah, I think just generally it's underutilized. I think it probably functions best in this meta as a fatter pivot, like a frustration U-turn rest sleep sort of pivot, rather than like an offensive threat with Swords Dance. I think that's just purely because of spikes and how the meta is sort of shifted towards spikes plus momentum.
Was that it?
Do
Okay.
you think there will be a meta where type null will kind of come in, or is it a bit too late for it?
I think it entirely depends. Like if everyone started picking up type null and seeing the light, it could totally come up. It's not too late for any mon. I mean, PU has had a lot of mons like be not so good and then get real good. Frostlass, after it first dropped, like people knew it was good, but it didn't become an S rank threat for months. And then obviously there's the stories like, oh, Stoutland was C plus at the beginning of PU. You know, Alolan Persian and Oricorio Pom Pom were nothing mons. I don't think it's too late. It's not great for them that we're already like, you know, in March, and Sword and Shield should be coming out. Yeah, but there's still like a solid 6 months and like the whole rest of Circuit, so I don't see why it couldn't. But especially if Pharisee drops, I just don't think people are going to do it. I think they're going to be lazy and not like spikes, and it's understandable. Null is still like, it's real good, I think, but it takes effort to make a mon that doesn't like spikes or ghosts or like strong banded wall breakers. Those are 3 things that kind of annoyed the most, and those are some not uncommon things in PU.
Yeah, I'd say with Null, I kind of just lost my train of thought. Shit. It has this weird sort of complex where it was really. Did you remember the meta before Quillfish and Frostlass dropped, where it was sort of like Null was sort of a common thing, like it was a threat, like a big threat. I feel like it does better in the metas where spikes is less common, whereas now in this sort of meta, like it doesn't really matter if you have a quote unquote switch into it, because if you have spikes, that's your out versus it. Like if you get some spikes pressure up and you have a primate, you're not going to be struggling versus type null. So generally, I feel like it excels in metas where there's less hazards pressure in general. So if we get some good defoggers or rapid spinners that come in the drops, or we get or our spikers leave, then it will become much better in that regard.
This is like a really weird question, but if we did get like Cryogonal, like as a spinner or even as a defogger, do you think it would run spin with like Frostlass, or do you think defog would be like?
That's a good question. That's entirely dependent on the team. So if you have, I'm guessing if you have stealth rock pressure alone, that you'll go for like a defog set. Whereas if you're going for hazard stack and you need a spinner that fits on hazard stack, you'd probably go for a rapid spin set. Although I do think that after a while, the rapid spin set will sort of phase out because you don't really get much compression out of it. You get the ice resist and you get the rapid spin thing.
Yeah, I think it is also, although I think it is worth mentioning, conventional Frostlass sets will lose to like HP Fire, Cryogonal, not really be able to spin block it. Obviously, Frostlass can start adapting and whatever, but like, I don't know how reliably you're gonna be spin blocking Cryogonal and still like maintaining how good of a set you're running. So I think spin will definitely have its place more than defog, but I can see why you'd want to run defog for just its simplicity. And like, nothing can really abuse defog. I wish Clearbody blocked it. I mean, it'd be annoying to have Regirock block it, but I think it'd be cool to have like a way to stop defog the same way you can stop rapid spin, but like you can't. So it's always going to be a safer option, and therefore it is always going to be like a reasonable option for teams to run.
Yeah.
Someone said something, but it was like way too low to make out. But I think it was a question. I don't know, maybe not.
Didn't hear anything. Well, I might have heard like a murmur. I don't know. That might be something in the background. Don't know.
If anyone has anything else, we're not going to take too many more, I don't think. So feel free.
If we get no additional Logan drops, would you consider suspecting it soon?
Yes, we're waiting for drops, but our suspect decision is entirely dependent on drops.
What? Yeah, drops specifically.
Yeah, if we get drops that like make it significantly worse, then we would reconsider wanting to suspect it. But if we don't, then I think we would probably go ahead.
I think he said like which drops would like influence not or not suspecting. I think it'd be like Guz and like shit like Miltank and Cryogonal. Just to name a few.
Yeah, I mean those are the mobs.
Pharisee.
Also Pharisee, because that way like you're forced to run HP Fire more, but even that's not could be a lot worse.
I mean, like it's running HP Fire for like shit like Sand Slash.
Yeah, but you'd be forced to run it more. Like as is, it can drop HP Fire more comfortably than it likely would be able to if Pharisee was in the tier. That's all. One more question. Let's or gimmick or whatever. I think let's just end it off with something fun. I'm counting on you guys.
Skip loom. Do one of you skip loom? No takers? Okay. Guess. Haters.
No.
Nasty Plot Toja take?
Okay, done. No, I mean, it doesn't even have to be Mons related or PU related or whatever. Just do a fun thing, and then we'll close it out. Come on, otherwise I'm trapping you guys in this voice call. We're never ending Untier talk until you give us something. See, this is why it's good to be me, because like I don't have to be a content creator. I can just come here and be like, hey, make content for me. It's nice, and I don't even have to edit this. Oh, it's so good. Power of laziness.
Before spammer. Let's go.
If he Regis.
What?
If you Regice.
That's not even funny. Well.
If you Regice is actually very viable as a Pokemon on Mono Ice.
Okay, so I'm gonna end this off with a personal anecdote because no one has anything.
Go for it.
So if you watch these videos, this is not an unreasonable chance that you're like me and you really enjoy Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. I love Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, and I have no shame. That game is amazing. Explorers of Sky is still my favorite game. Chocobo's Mystery Dungeon, everybody, has a god-awful name. But it's a new Mystery Dungeon game on Switch, and it's actually fun, despite not being Pokemon or anything, and I've never played Final Fantasy before. I'm not far enough into it to like give a definitive yeah, but if you want another thing that is Mystery Dungeon gameplay, I like it. So there you go.
Fair enough. That sounds cool. I've theory one while you were talking about that, a potential answer to Lilligan.
Oh, good. Is it Magmar?
What
Please tell me it's not
would
Magmar.
ABB be?
All right, it's time to end the podcast. Thanks everyone for joining in. I think we had TJ, Oathkeeper, J-Mash, Specs, and Jogurt. We didn't actually like tell anyone we were doing this beforehand, so if you didn't get to ask a question, this was good enough. We'll probably try it again eventually. We mostly just did this because like literally nothing happened. Like between last week, We had another week of ladder tour, another week of seasonal, and Pills 1 seeded. That's literally it. So like, fuck it, whatever. We'll just, yeah. So it'll probably happen again.
Yeah, leave any questions that you have in the comments.
Yeah, we'll
below.
also just
And,
answer comments questions. It's just that most of the recent ones have been like literally things anyone could get if they went on forums. Like, I think someone asked, "Oh, when's PU ladder tour starting?" It's like, dude, why would you ask that in the comment section of a YouTube video when it's literally on forums? And this was before ladder tour started, but we posted the PU tour schedule, so that's like, hey, if you're really asking this in YouTube, then come on.
Yeah.
Good. I just ended this out by calling out one of the dedicated listeners. We're really doing a good job here.
Yeah.
All right. See you guys next week with, I don't know, something will probably happen, I'm sure. Oh yeah, drops should be out by next week. So yeah, we'll have content. Thanks for listening. Well, as a protracted ending.